Is Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler the best duo in the league? And Gui Santos is quickly becoming one of the Warriors' most vital role players. Let's talk about it. So the Warriors are now 11-1 with Jimmy Butler in the lineup, and Kuminga isn't even back yet. Now, the haters gonna say, but they haven't played anyone yet. All I hear is excuses. I don't care who you're playing. Going 11-1, mainly on the road, that's impressive for any team. Hey, Warriors fans, don't let the haters convince you otherwise. If their favorite team made a trade to acquire a superstar, and they proceeded to win 11 of their next 12 games with a plus 14 net rate in the process, they'd be hyped too. This Detroit game is yet another impressive win for the Warriors against a good, young, up-and-coming team. This ain't the Pistons of old. Detroit had the same record as the Warriors head into this game, and they're led by rising star Cade Cunningham, who looks like he's well on his way to superstardom. The game was close down the stretch, but Golden State took care of business. By the way, shout out to Isaiah Stewart, another goofball who decided to get under Steph's skin by pushing him. Hey, I love it, man. What players somehow fail to realize is that Steph Curry is a dog. Players think they can just punk him because of how he looks, but Steph ain't no sucker. Do people really think you can become a 4-time champ as the best player on your team as a 6'2" point guard and not be a dog? Come on, man. These are the type of shenanigans that give Steph that extra motivation to deep fry your team. You would think they've learned by now. Steph is cut from the same cloth as Michael Jordan, the ultimate competitors, and they take any and all disrespect personal and use it as motivation to fuel their game. Physicality isn't something Steph is going to shy away from. I mean, to be honest with you, it looked like Steph was ready to square up. He definitely wasn't running from the smoke, unlike some players we know. By the way, Steph Curry did something pretty monumental this game. He surpassed 25,000 career points, all in a Warriors uniform. That's truly something rare and special. Shout out to the greatest player in Warriors franchise history, the Chef. In the past 13 games since the trade, Steph Curry's averaging 30.5 points per game, 6.5 assists, and 4 rebounds on 50, 42, and 92 shooting splits, with a 69% true shooting. And by the way, that's all while getting triple teamed. Even at age 37, no one in the league draws as much defensive attention as Steph. Y'all saw that Knicks game. He was literally getting triple teamed and they still couldn't stop him. SGA's not getting guarded like that, Jokic ain't getting guarded like that, and Giannis ain't getting guarded like that. This dude's an absolute monster. By the way, this ridiculous shot against Brooklyn is one of the craziest shots I've ever seen, and has to be one of the toughest shots of Steph Curry's career he's ever made. And not even a week prior, Steph Curry hit a 3/4 quarter shot at the halftime buzzer against the Orlando Magic. The man is unreal. I'm running out of words to describe him. Alright, let's talk about Jimmy Butler, who's been turning it up these past few games. In his last 2 games played against Detroit and Brooklyn, Jimmy Butler's averaging 25.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. He's shooting 53% from the field. He's 3 for 5 on threes. He's attempting 8.5 free throw attempts per game, shooting 94% with a 68% true shooting. These past few games have called for Jimmy Butler to be more aggressive, and that's what he did. Jimmy Butler's a superstar, and when he's playing this aggressive, there's not many teams that can check him defensively. Once playoffs roll around, he takes his aggression to an even another level. We haven't even seen 40-point, let alone 30-point Jimmy. As the season progresses and the stakes get higher, trust me, it's coming. So, who's the best duo in the league? Is it LeBron and Luka? Is it Jokic and Murray? Is it Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? SGA and Jalen Williams? Or Damian Giannis? Look, I don't care what nobody say. I'm taking Steph and Jimmy Butler over all them dudes. I love what I'm seeing from these dudes, and we know what they're capable of in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler has dragged some sorry Heat teams on his back full of G Leaguers and role players to the finals. Steph Curry literally just won a championship not even 3 years ago as the best player on the title team. The second best player had been Andrew Wiggins. And that's no disrespect to Andrew Wiggins, but now he has Jimmy Butler, and they already have amazing chemistry. Their games are a perfect complement to each other, and they both make each other better. In a playoff series, would you honestly rather have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, or Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler? 2 players that have separately sunned the Celtics in their own right. Do you expect Tatum to outplay Steph in a playoff series? Because I don't. Do you expect Jaylen Brown to outplay Jimmy Butler in a playoff series? I mean, it's possible, but is it guaranteed? Regular season Jaylen Brown is definitely the better player, don't get me wrong. But we're talking about playoff Jimmy. I'm taking Steph and Jimmy over Tatum and Brown any day of the week. What about LeBron and Luka? They've been playing pretty well. Are they better than Steph and Jimmy? That's a good question. But I think Steph and Jimmy is a way better complement to each other's game than LeBron and Luka, who has a lot of redundancies with the ball in their hands. What about SGA and Jalen Williams? That's a pretty good young tandem, but they haven't proven anything in the playoffs. I'm rocking with Steph and Jimmy. What about Jokic and Murray? That's an interesting question that I hope is answered in the playoffs because I want the Warriors to play the Nuggets. Look, I say all that to say this. I got supreme confidence in Steph and Jimmy, and I think the Warriors are primed for a deep playoff run, possibly a championship. Moving on, I did want to show Gui some love because he's quickly becoming one of the Warriors' most vital role players. In his past 3 games, Gui was a plus 14 versus Detroit, a plus 12 versus Brooklyn, and a plus 14 versus New York. Now the stats might not pop off the screen, but he's so important to this Warriors team as a connective piece on the wing and in the front court. So far this season, Gui has an 11.6 total rebound rate. For a little more context, per 36 minutes, Gui will be averaging 8 rebounds per game, which is extremely solid for a wing. He has a 123 offensive rating and a 113 defensive rating. His on-court splits are a plus 10.8 and his on-off is a plus 10. He's also shooting 43% on corner threes the past 2 seasons. I say all that to say this, Gui is a perfect role player for this Warriors team. Does he have a little bit of Otto Porter in his game? I definitely think there's some similarities. No, not prime Otto Porter that got a $100 million contract, but the older version of Otto Porter that he was when he signed with Golden State. Both 6'8 forwards, stretch fours. Gui isn't as pure of a shooter as Otto was, but he can stick an open shot. Again, he's shooting 43% on corner threes in the past 2 seasons. Both good positional rebounders, a little slow-footed, but overall good team defenders with length and IQ. Quick to make the right play, moves the ball well, and doesn't make many mistakes. I see Gui as a lesser, but still very effective version of what Otto was for the Warriors. Yo, this Gui Santos sequence against Detroit was insane. He makes an amazing defensive play at the rim. And then on the very next possession, he takes Kate off the dribble for the and one finish. He provides value on both ends of the court. He's not some insane shot creator or lockdown defender, but what he is extremely versatile. Can fit into any lineup. As a 6'8 wing that can knock down open shots, plays solid team defense, rebounds, moves the ball, insane hustle player, and is a strong rebounder. Look, the bottom line is, Gui cannot be removed from the rotation once Kuminga comes back. So Steve Kerr gotta figure that out. Once JK comes back, which should be extremely soon by the way, the Warriors are gonna have a lot of rotation problems to solve, but it is doable. I came up with a minute distribution of my own. Let's check it out. Alright, so as you can see with the minute allocation, I got Steph at 32 minutes per game, Jimmy at 32 minutes per game, I got Draymond at 28 minutes per game, Paz at 31 minutes per game, Kuminga at 27, Moody at 27, Gui at 19, Post at 20, Looney at 12, and either Gui or Buddy at 12 minutes per game depending on matchup. That equals out to 240 minutes total, which is needed for a full game rotation. Alright, so let's dig a little deeper. We got Steph getting all 32 of his minutes at point guard. We got Paz playing 16 minutes of backup point guard. As we know, Paz is the starting shooting guard. Well, he'll get his 15 minutes there. We got Jimmy getting 16 minutes at shooting guard and Moody getting 5. And again, either GP2 or Moody, depending on matchup, will get the rest of the 12 minutes there. So Jimmy will get his other 16 minutes at small forward. So basically half his minutes at small forward, half his minutes at shooting guard. We got Moody, who's getting 22 of his 27 minutes at small forward, and Kuminga getting the last available 10 minutes there. At power forward, Draymond's getting 12 of his minutes there, mainly playing next to Quinn and Post. JK is getting the bulk of his minutes there as a backup power forward, 17 out of 27, and Gui's getting the last 19 minutes available. Draymond's playing 16 minutes at center, Quinn and Post was playing 20, and Looney gets the last 12. Now, as you can see, even with Kuminga back in the mix, it is possible to get all these guys minutes. Now, I'm gonna address some of the biggest pushback I'm assuming I'm gonna get. Number one, this doesn't reflect the playoff rotation. Obviously, in the playoffs and even in key matchups in the regular season down the stretch, Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond are all going to play more, which means the young players are consequently going to play less. Let's say in the playoffs or even during the regular season versus contenders. Steph and Jimmy's minutes might get bumped from 32 up to 35 or 36 minutes per game. Draymond, who I have at 28 minutes per game, he might get up to 34, 35, even 36. This minute distribution reflects the regular season with the intention of preserving the big three as much as possible. So keep that in mind before you complain about Paz playing 31 minutes. During the playoffs, when Steph and Jimmy are playing more, those are obviously going to take away minutes from him. Now, for those of you who are about to leave a comment saying Kuminga needs more than 27 minutes per game, you have to keep in mind, he's missed 2+ months with a sprained ankle. And not just a sprained ankle, it's a grade 3 ankle sprain, which is a partial tear. He's gonna be rusty, he's gonna be out of rhythm, he's not gonna be at his best. He needs to ease his way into a bigger workload. So 27 minutes per game coming off a 2-month layoff sounds about right. Now, as the season goes on and he gets more and more acclimated, and if he's playing well, because that's important, you can obviously bump up his minutes to 30+. But that's all depending on how well he's playing and if he's knocking down his open threes. You also need those 20 minutes from Post and Gui in the front court, because it's their added shooting in the front court that complements Steph, Jimmy, and Dre and what they're trying to do offensively. You got to keep defenses honest. When teams are going to sell on Steph, you got to have shooters all around the court. Quinn and Post and Gui spacing next to Jimmy and Draymond is essential, which is why even when JK comes back, Steve needs to maintain a decent chunk of minutes for Gui. Now, for those of you who think, well, Paz is still playing too many minutes, you need to understand, Paz is the starting shooting guard, the backup point guard, and one of their go-to point of attack defenders, along with Moody when GP2 isn't on the floor. He's also one of the Warriors' best connective players that plays great off Steph and Jimmy as a secondary ball handler and playmaker. He's been great on defense, a 103 defensive rating by the way. He's an elite positional rebounder for his size, which is important for a team that goes small with Draymond at center. He's starting to knock down his open threes more and more, and he's a dog on the court. Long story short, yes, he's gonna play a lot, and rightfully so. Outside of the big three and Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, Paz is literally one of the best and most impactful players on the team. And if you disagree, I don't know what you're watching. The pod sucks crowd from Warriors fans is extremely weird to me. You have a 22-year-old second-year player that contributes to winning in multiple aspects of the game. Offensively, defensively, playmaking, rebounding, hustle plays. He's an extremely smart complementary player that processes the game fast. For Warriors fans that think he suck, I'm so curious. What are you watching? It honestly blows my mind, man. But anyways, last point on this minutes distribution. Once the playoffs roll around, I don't want Buddy sniffing the court. I don't trust his three-point shooting. I don't trust his decision-making. I don't trust his defense. He's too lackadaisical with the ball. I just don't trust him, bro. Come playoff time, you need to give all of Buddy's minutes to Moody, Gui, GP2, and Jimmy. But anyways, that's all I got for y'all. If I entertained you or you learned something new, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.